And welcome back. This is episode 4 of the Domer Nurse podcast. This is your host, Greg Schaefer. This is the official podcast of the Notre Dame Fan Club of Columbus. Let's get going today. I got a lot of thoughts today. This is going to be kind of a, you ever been to an auction and they talk about a box of miscellaneous is up for bids? That's kind of what this show is going to be. We'll have to push back one more week our interview with NCAA official Ricky Smith. He had some other obligations and my work schedule. It didn't pan out. I knew that's the second week I pushed it back, and you're probably thinking, this guy has zero connections or zero friends to anybody he says that he has. No, but we got it. It'll be next week, and actually next Friday morning will be the interview, probably around 10:30, and if we can make it happen, we're probably going to go Facebook Live with it, possibly have another guest co-host on the show. I'll confirm that in the coming days, so pretty excited about finally getting that interview knocked out. Ricky's going to give us an idea of what it's like to be an NCAA official. I'm really excited about it, but wasn't actually going to, after that kind of fell off and we couldn't get our schedules worked right, I wasn't going to do a show this week. And then I don't know, there's been a lot of stuff go on with NFL free agency and then the ACC title game tonight. Let's go Irish. We are ND. We got Duke tonight. I'm going to do a little preview of that, and not really going to be a structured show as usual, but the last few shows have been pretty structured, but this one, I'm going to go off the cuff a little bit. I got about a half page of notes, as I usually do, but I think this one's even half of the half page of notes. A couple things. Got, the Tebow stuff going on, and Josh Pastner winning ACC Coach of the Year. I got a kind of a gripe about that, so I was like, I may not do a show this week, but no, it's happening. I'm pretty excited about it. Like I said, off the cuff kind of thing. Just kind of throw some things out there. Just everybody's really been enjoying the show, and get out there and like us on Twitter and on the Facebook page. On Twitter at Domer Nurse 09, and then the Facebook page is the Domer Nurse Podcast. So this week, I just want to open up. We'll start. Let's wrap up this conversation from last week with the Notre Dame special. A couple things I did not get to that I really wanted to address. The show kind of ran long. As I said, you could probably do an hour on every recruit. You could do 24 hours on Notre Dame football. That's why I chopped that episode down. That episode could have been crazy. I could probably still be doing that episode. But a couple of big news that I didn't get to with the couple transfers coming in. We already have Freddie Canteen already on signed to come on with the Irish. He is kind of a hybrid wide receiver, cornerback type. He didn't really play too much. He does have 2 more years of eligibility left, so we'll see how that goes. I talked to one of my the Michigan correspondent we have, Dusty Elk, on kind of some of his thoughts about Canteen, and actually I'll read you the text because I was trying to do my research on him, and this is kind of what I got from Dusty. He said, pretty good recruit, didn't really pan out. Tried to play him at corner, could just never get on the field. Older guy with speed, does have some upside. Said he wouldn't be surprised if he comes in, catches some passes, and then he said he also wouldn't be surprised if we all forget his name in the next, or 2 weeks into the season. So, that's interesting. I'm excited in the fact that we are getting guys that want to transfer here. That I'm pretty pumped about that. This is a destination for guys that want to transfer, and that's good to hear. Like I said, this guy's already on board. I personally don't know where we're going to use him. I don't want to see him take time away from the wide receivers we already have out there with Stefferson and C.J. Sanders and Equinemius St. Brown. And then my personal favorite, one of my personal favorites from that recruiting class in the wide receivers is Chase Claypool, the kid from Canada. I'm really excited to see what he can do. That's a big body. He's almost more like a tight end. So looks like Freddie caught 5 receptions over 6 games in his freshman year, and then he had a shoulder injury. And looked like that knocked him out for his sophomore season. So, it's nice to be able to get bodies, that's for sure. I don't know if he can be used in the 4-2-5 that Elko is going to run. Like I said, my boy there, Dusty, he said that he can definitely maybe see time on defense. Definitely, if he's got some speed, can cover maybe in like a nickel package or something, that'd be nice. Just another body, especially with the way this team's battled injuries. Hopefully, Coach Bayless, the new strength and conditioning coach, can get those kind of things worked out. I mean, we just had an inordinate amount of injuries over the last couple seasons. In 2015 it was plug and play. Next guy up, and then last year, it was so bad that I thought I was going to finally get my snaps at Notre Dame. I thought Kelly was going to give me the call to get out there because not only, were we injury plagued, but we just weren't very good either. So it'd be nice to have him out there. And, as it was last year, Elko's running this 4.25. Last year, we couldn't have ran a 5.67 and stopped anybody. So, I mean, the defense was just kind of a mess. So if we got an extra body out there, even in pushing guys for time, being involved in a sport like grappling and jiu-jitsu, it's, iron sharpens iron, man, and so in practice, if he's pushing guys, that'll be real nice. So we got him coming in. And then the other one, Scott Pagano, played for the national championship winning Clemson Tigers last year, backup role. He is 6'4", 295, originally out of Hawaii. And he's going to be transferring for his final year of eligibility. Had 93 tackles, 8 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks. Credited with 7 quarterback pressures, 1 pass breakup in 705 career snaps. He was, in fact, on campus last weekend, and everything that I'm hearing is that visit went really well. So that would be nice, especially with the concussion concerns with Daniel Cage. I'm really, really interested to see, what other visits he has coming up. I know he had some other ones coming. I think he's going to keep the Texas visit from what I'm hearing. Dabo said something about him, when he's leaving, he's going to be trying to be closer to family and go out to the West Coast. But I don't know. I've heard he canceled one of his other visits, and I've also heard that he was extremely happy from all the message board stuff that I'm reading. If anybody's interested, just kind of side note here, interested in where I get a lot of my kind of, stuff that I hear from is Irish Envy is a great, great website, great message board. I used to post with them guys a lot, and there's a lot of guys in there that are way more in the know than me, and they have conversation, not knocking them. I mean, it's great. It's great for entertainment, but sometimes I work so much, I can't even keep up with their banter on there. There's nothing worse than, 6 pages back, they've already drilled a topic to death, and then you're coming in making a point, and it's like, you are that guy now. So I've tried to post with them a little bit. They're fun. They're a good group of guys, and definitely fun to post with. So one more thing about the football program before I break into some of my other topics this week. I mentioned some of the things I'm pro and con and this and that with our fan base, the fun arguments, and sometimes they're heated. Like I said last week, I've been kicked off of one message board, but like I said last week, I'll be nice. I'm not going to call out who it was. Due to my opinion, it's cool. I'll be nice, but I'm kind of against the Shamrock series. And I'll tell you why. I'm not against the jerseys because I think it does kind of breathe new life into things, shows that we can be different. That's fine. I'm not against that. Like I said last week, if they wear pink every week, my reaction would, as long as they won every game and won a national title, my reaction would probably be, well, I'd prefer you didn't. But hey, if that's what gets these recruits here, gets us winning national titles, that's fine by me. But the Shamrock series, here's my problem with the Shamrock series, and hear me out on this. And I know I kind of wanted to get back to other stuff non-Notre Dame fans would be kind of pumped about on this show, but just hear me out on this. And this is applicable to any fan of any sport, even pro sports, is the neutral site element of it. I don't like it, and I'll tell you why. I don't like it because it takes away a home game. And you say, well, you say one thing brings in recruiting, and that can too, it's better for recruiting. Well, here's my issue, is we have in college football, you have these cathedrals for stadiums. Notre Dame Stadium, despite your opinions of it, the Big House, out in Happy Valley, Beaver Stadium, the Horseshoe. Pick a stadium. Pick one of these stadiums, irregardless of your thoughts about the school. These things are cathedrals. I mean, these are amazing stadiums, and they're not being used for their purpose, but 6 times a year. Some schools maybe get 7 or 8 games, but right now we're only using Notre Dame Stadium, the house that Rockne built. That classic historical venue is only getting used for its actual purpose. Now, I know they do graduation there, do some runs that end on the 50-yard line, and now I heard they might play some lacrosse there, and I've heard vague rumblings about maybe a hockey game on the field or this, that, now that we have the turf. But for its actual purpose, Notre Dame football game day in its stadium is 6 times a year. Just wrap your mind around that. Like, that is the one thing I don't like about it. And I'll take it one step further before I break into some other topics today, is if the playoffs, when they go to 8 teams, I would love to see home field advantage for the first round. Because essentially, when you look at these great stadiums, great cathedral-like stadiums, and, they're being used for big games, but no championships are won in these venues. Not a one of them. Not a one. Neyland Stadium down in Tennessee. None of these stadiums are being used. Bryant-Denny, Alabama, national championships. They won all these national championships. The Swamp down in Florida. The Coliseum. As much as we hate, the University of Spoiled Children, it's not. No championships are being won there. And it's interesting to me. I would love to have a playoff game. Could you imagine? First round playoff game, Florida State, Miami, having to come to Notre Dame up in January if the playoffs ever extended to 8 teams. I know I'm getting a little ahead of myself and kind of getting off track, but that's where my head's at. Is it's like, man, these amazing just venues. NFL stadiums, pro venues, we all know, as college sports fans, we all know they're a little more sterile than the atmosphere. Could you imagine the atmosphere on a campus? Even take here in Central Ohio, Columbus. Could you imagine, that game a few years back? Ohio State playing Alabama at home. Let's just say Ohio State was the higher ranked team. Maybe some snow flying, this or that, first round matchup, before the semifinals. And in the semifinals, we start rotating some neutral sites or something like that. But, yeah, man, I would love to see something like that. And that's my problem with the Shamrock Series, is that, our venue, this great venue, it's having a date taken away. There's already only 6 out of, how many days there are in a year. Well, 365 days in a year, it's getting used 6 times for its actual purpose. I just would like to see, you do a one-off game with your uniforms and that whole song and dance. Do it at home. If you're going to take away something, take away an away game. Didn't Michigan only play 8 home games, or played 8 home games only? Played 8 home games and only 4 away games a couple years ago? Or maybe that was last year. I have to look it up. But, yeah, think about that. We're only getting to use that Notre Dame Stadium 6 times a year, and especially with this Crossroads project. I heard next season, or in here, I know next season we do have 7 home games. I would love to keep it at that. And if we're going to have a one-off, neutral site game, let's take away an away game. Don't take away something. We only get 6 of them, so don't. Or about 7. Don't take away what's already there. Take away something so great. So that's kind of my rant on that. So we'll move on here. Hot button topic this week. Man, I can't hardly talk to anybody without getting into this one. It's Tim Tebow playing baseball. Tim Tebow playing baseball. Where do I stand on this? Well, personally, I know a lot of people, bottom line, they're pissed off. One of the co-hosts you're going to hear on the show here in 2 weeks, they're pissed off, is Dusty Elk. He's our guy. He's also your Michigan guy, your Duke guy, and your Yankee guy. So he's the things everybody loves to hate correspondent there. But, he's very passionate about his teams, and he knows his stuff. So, be nice. I'll tell my fan base, be nice to him. He knows his stuff. He's very, very educated, keeps himself in the know. He's not ignorant. He does know who his teams are playing each day, I promise you. I don't know about how adding and subtracting goes for him, but he's getting along all right. I hear he's doing just fine. But, yeah, Tim Tebow playing baseball. Where I stand with it is, good for him, for me. And I'll tell you why. Don't be pissed off at him because he has the opportunity. He's a good dude. And all that stuff aside, that poor guy is his own worst enemy. I shouldn't say poor guy, he's a millionaire. He doesn't drink, but he'll never have to buy a drink in Gainesville or probably the whole state of Florida for the rest of his life. Maybe in America because everybody loves him. And they'd be shocked he's actually having a drink. I mean, I think he's a genuinely good dude. I don't think we have to worry about finding kids in Tim Tebow's basement. Even though some of the stuff he says here lately about adopting kids it's a little creepy, but Tim's just a different cat, and he's different than the rest of us. And I'll eat my words. I will. I'll eat my words if it turns out that Tim Tebow is running around an unmarked white van that reads "Free Puppies" on the side. I promise you, I will eat my words, and you all can have a Twitter war over my show. I hear that gets ratings. I once heard Colin Cowherd say, I don't care about the people that like me. I care about the ones that dislike me and keep listening. So I need to get a few of those. I guess I gotta piss a few more people off. But so back to Tim Tebow anyway here. He has the opportunity. If I was in his position, I decided to play baseball and the Nets were stupid enough to say, hey, here you go. You can play for us. And then, okay, I'm going. I'm not going to say, no. Let me work my way up and try out over here in an independent league or whatever the next phase of things would be, and kind of go from there. No, man, I'm going to do what take the easiest route. It's kind of the same thing I said about CM Punk fighting in the UFC right out the crack with no experience. Let me just say first off that your host right here has more experience than CM Punk did going into that fight. I have a better resume than he does. I have 2 amateur fights, one ending by knockout, one ending by submission, and I've got a purple belt under Team Sauce and Dustin Ware, Team Gurgel. That is way more of a resume than he does. Maybe he trained with a nice team, this or that. He never did anything competitively, never did any kind of amateur anything. He did fake wrestling, made himself famous, and used his name. It's essentially what Tim Tebow did, but he did actually play a sport, a real sport like football, and apparently he played some high school baseball. And he looked bad the other day. I'm not the as much as I love baseball and as much baseball as we'll talk on this show, I'm not the baseball aficionado by any stretch, but by all the indications of people I talked to and from what I seen of his swing, it was brutal. It was less than Carlos Zambrano's swing hard in case you hit something. But, like I said, more power to him. I don't want to spend too much time on this because I know in 2 weeks when we do our baseball preview, I got 2 guys that are going to be on the show with me. They're very passionate about that, about the topic. So, I think we'll have some fun banter with that. I support him. As bad as he looks, I'm more angry with the people that have given him said opportunity. Like, that's a them problem. I understand there's guys out there, and that was kind of my issue with like CM Punk is, there's guys out there killing themselves trying to get their name out there and get in the limelight, or not even the limelight, just get a chance, just to get that opportunity to show what you got, and then they go out there and flop around like a fish. I mean, Tim Tebow's performance at the plate, 0 for 4, 2 strikeouts, and he grounded into a double play, or was it 3 strikeouts? I do know he did make contact at least, and then he looked pretty bad there in the strikeout, the one that's kind of running around YouTube, the borderline strike at the knees. So I don't know. Like I said, I'm not knocking him. It isn't his fault that he was given a ridiculous, goofy opportunity, but I don't know how much longer it's going to last. I don't know how much. Are they going to keep him on Are they going to keep him on a minor league team of any kind, or are they going to hook him up with an independent team? Yeah, I'm not real sure. Like I said, Rick Porcello, man, he made him look pretty bad. And that's a tough matchup, though. I mean, you can get a nice single A prospect or double A prospect, and Porcello is going to make you look bad. So, again, I wouldn't be too mad at Tebow. He's a good dude. He's a guy that you can be pretty safe your kid buying his jersey and putting his poster up. So, I wouldn't be too mad at him. I'll probably catch some heat for that for the people that are that mad at him. I would be more angry with the organization themselves giving him an opportunity. That's asinine. I guess if you're trying to sell tickets, but I mean, how many tickets are you selling? How much money can you possibly be making during spring training off that? I don't know. Most of these teams, these big market teams, I mean, the Cubs were packing out every single game. The Red Sox, I was watching some spring training, Yankees spring training, they're packing out their stadium. What else you need to sell? I can't imagine that those couple Tim Tebow jerseys and the few maybe say he gets a couple hundred more people in the stands during spring training for a couple games. Is it really hurting your bottom line? Maybe that Bobby Bonilla deal that the Mets are going to have to pay on until the year 3000 is really is hurting them. I don't know. Like I said, I wouldn't be mad at Tebow. I'd be more so mad at More so mad at the people that gave it to him. So with that being said, speaking of people that gave somebody something, how about the ACC Coach of the Year going to Josh Pastner? I'm so sick and tired of hearing about this. Again, I'm not mad at him. He's not supposed to give it back. You win an award, you're not supposed to give it back. Like I talked about a couple weeks ago, with Adele, winning her award over Beyonce, she damn near gave the thing back. But my God, I'm so sick of hearing about this. Like, oh, they weren't even supposed to win a game. They scheduled a Division II opponent in February or January or whatever it was just to make sure they could get a win. He's done such a great job. And I look at it and I'm like, has he done that great of a job? Like, okay, yes, he took what was supposed to be a very bad team, picked to finish 14th in the ACC, and he got them to a respectable level. They finished the season at 17-15. Okay, 17-15. They're not getting a tournament bid. They're two games over 500. And they won 8 games in the ACC. They didn't even finish with a 500 record in the ACC. I don't know. That's not Coach of the Year to me. I mean, yes, okay. Haters are going to say, well, they beat Notre Dame. Well, they beat us on a last second shot at home. Great. Okay, you won 8 games in the ACC. I'll give you that. And that's awesome because I do think the ACC is the strongest conference in the country, year in and year out. I've said it many times. I said it on my first show that there's a consensus amongst my friends that, the ACC should be the national title. Everybody else play for second. Kind of half tongue in cheek, kind of not, but this guy didn't do that great of a job. He made them competent. You got Coach of the Year for making a team competent? I have a hard time wrapping my head around this one. I mean, this goes back to even, think about the fact that, like, Urban Meyer, I know it's a bad example for the Irish fans, just chill out, though, is, Urban Meyer's never won Big Ten Coach of the Year. Wrap your mind around that one. I mean, regardless of your feelings on the guy, I'm not the biggest fan of him, but there's no doubt that him and Nick Saban are the 2 best coaches in college football. I mean, no doubt. Dabo Swinney, he's doing his thing. We'll see. Is it sustained? Is it not? We'll see. But he's never won a Big Ten title or a Big Ten Coach of the Year. So I don't know. These awards, this is goofy. You want to talk about a Coach of the Year, and I'm going to homer out for a minute. How about Mike Bray? Picked between 7th and 9th, depending upon what publication you're at, and we're playing for the ACC title tonight. How about that? How about that for your Coach of the Year? 25-8, 12-6 in the ACC. We have wins over Louisville, Florida State, Virginia Tech, Miami, Syracuse. We beat Northwestern. I mean, that's Coach of the Year to me. Beat Wake Forest. We beat everybody in our division, in our conference that we played, except for North Carolina and Duke, which we play tonight, and hopefully we can vanquish that tonight. So, I don't know. You're not going to get me on board with this Josh Pastner. Like, I think he's a good coach. I think he's got him trending in the right direction, but when's the last... I mean, they're not even going to make the tournament. It isn't like you were picked last or picked next to last, and then, they won the tournament. No, you were picked next to last, and you ended up in 11th. So, if we call a spade here, you did slightly better than we thought you would. I don't know, because you were picked to win 0 games and then you won 8. I mean, college sports are so goofy anyway. Everybody knew they would be better than Boston College. Who's picking, Boston College to finish better than Georgia Tech this year? I think that's a little inflated. So, I don't know. I have a hard time with this one. This is very frustrating. I mean, give it to Krzyzewski again or something. Give it to, I don't know, give it Tony Bennett down at Virginia. You could give it to Buzz Williams, Virginia Tech. Florida State's coach. His name's escaping me for some reason. But, yeah, give it to somebody like that. My gosh, I don't understand this. I don't understand it. I don't know if I'm going to understand it. I'm probably just going to have to live with it, and you're just going to have to say, Greg, get over it and go have a Snickers. But it's just frustrating. Leonard Hamilton. I'm sitting here looking it up while I'm talking to you. Leonard Hamilton's the coach of Florida State. Give it to him. I mean, they haven't even made the tournament since 2012, and they look like the best team in the country some nights. My God, if you watched that game last night, us and Florida State, I'm glad that wasn't a fight. Because our poor kids would have had their brains bashed in. That might be the most athletic team in the country. They just can't shoot the ball. Mid-range jump shots. They had a kid get hot off the bench, but they couldn't match us. Thank God that wasn't a fight or a football game. We'd have been killed. That'd have been the first fight or football game stopped because of murder. I mean, if I'm having a football game, and you know how they always say, you let the big guy, the most intimidating dudes off the bus first. Good night. Give me the Florida State basketball team to walk off the bus first, and then I'll have the rest of the team walk off. That's a scary looking bunch, man. They are athletic, scary looking. Not like physical features scary, just athletic dudes, man. Those physical specimens. I mean, Bray can't even hardly get a guy that's 6'10". He has to sell his kidney to get a guy at 6'10". They have a guy at 7'1" starting, and the guy that spells him 7'4". That's incredible. And it looks mildly athletic. I mean, they're not crazy athletic, not bowling you over or maybe could play anything else but basketball, but he didn't look stiff out there. He didn't look like no beanpole joke. So, but anyhow, Bray Coach of the Year in my opinion, and that is literally. I wish I could. Nobody's going to take me seriously because I'm doing a podcast called the Domer Nurse Podcast, and I'm sitting here with Notre Dame socks and a T-shirt on. But you take it. Let's just call a spade here, okay? You have Pastner finishes the season. Run with me here. 17-15. Okay, they were picked to finish 14th. They finished 11th, 3 spots better. Okay. And he finished the season 17-15. Okay, that's something. You finished with a better record than we thought. You were 8-10, so you got a sub 500 record in the ACC, and then you got this barely 500 record overall. And then comparing with Mike Bray, was picked anywhere from 7th to 9th, and we finished, okay, by the tournament standards, where we were ranked. We were finished 3rd, 4 places above where we were supposed to, or 5, or 6, depending upon what publication you read. And we got a chance to win the ACC title tonight, maybe even locking it a 3 seed. So I'll leave it up to you. I'll let you be the judge. Let the facts speak for themselves, but it aggravates me. So, the last topics we'll get to this week, a little bit of NFL free agency. Let's talk about where I was right, where I was wrong. I didn't think we'd be doing this show for actually a little while, but looks like Greg was right on a couple. Greg was wrong on a couple. One of those being right looks like, who do I want to start with here? Tyrod Taylor staying with the Bills. I got to say with that one, I'm shocked the Vikings did not go after him. I'm shocked. I'm angry. If I was a Viking fan, and I'm not, I do own a Viking hat. It was really cheap, and if you ever see me out in it, it's moisture wicking, and it repels rain really well and is super comfortable, so just get off me. Anyhow, I'm surprised the Vikings didn't go after him because I'm telling you, Bradford's going to slip off the bench or something and break a hip and a jaw and a shoulder. He'll be out for 12 games, and then you'll be calling up David Klingler out of retirement up there, and then everybody's going to be bitching of why the Vikings aren't no better in the NFC North. But, I was shocked they didn't go after him. I know there was no rumblings. I just kind of went with that one. It just felt like a fit to me. Maybe they think Bridgewater's going to be back. But as I said in my previous show, they don't think he's even going to play this year. So, looks like Romo is going to get cut. I know I said that the Cowboys should keep him. I think that's dumb. I do. I think that's dumb. You don't have to pay Dak right now. I was definitely wrong there. I mean, I mentioned the Texans thing, which looks like it's probably going to happen. Otherwise, I've been hearing the Broncos. That's stupid on their part. Which stupid do I want to pick first? The Cowboys I'll do first. I guess if he wants to keep playing and he wants to start, Jerry was going to do him, a service and say, okay, Tony, do your thing. They seem to like each other a lot. So he was going to do him a favor and get him somewhere, get cut, or whatever the case was going to be. But, I don't understand why not try to keep him. If Dak gets hurt or Dak sophomore slumps, then you have Tony coming off the bench, and you're not paying Dak Prescott right now. So, I don't know. And I don't, I hear Tony Romo to the Bills potentially, and then they do something to trade Tyrod. And then I heard to the Jets. He ain't leaving that area. He's not leaving Texas. He's got the house that he wants to live in. And you might say, well, they move all the time. Players have a permanent home. Well, they do, but this is different. He's on the tail end of his career. He's got a mansion down there. He wants to be in Texas. He goes to the Broncos. That's a mistake. That's a mistake. You're taking a quarterback that's played 90% of his career, or all of his career at home. His home stadium's been a dome. That's dumb. That's a mistake. Don't do that. Don't do that like Peyton Manning did. Because I'm telling you, there's a piece of me that thinks Peyton's still playing today if he goes to the Arizona Cardinals, where he gets to play the majority of his games in a dome with the luxury of Larry Fitzgerald out there. That's a good team. Bruce Arians has put together nice teams out there. So it does look like Romo's going to get cut. So I'll say I was definitely probably wrong there. We'll see if he ends up with the Texans, which was my second choice on that. And then looks like Cutler, from everything I'm heard on the way home today, I was coming home from the gym, and from what I could hear, it looks like the Jets might be it, and that's what I said was going to be the Jets. So we'll see if that happens. Be up there with Forte. I don't know what the Jets are going to. If I'm the Jets, I'd do it. I don't think Cutler's that bad of a player. I really don't. I truly, truly don't. I was listening to something the other day. What was it? Somebody said actually probably the best fit right now for Cutler would be the Broncos. And of course, Broncos fans don't want anything to do with that, but they're kind of right. I mean, you got the defense. If you think like I think that Cutler just needs a reset, I'm not saying he's Tom Brady. I'm not saying he's probably even in the top. He might be a top 15 quarterback, 15 to 18, somewhere in there, on Jay's best day. Not his best day. His best day, he could probably work himself up to 12. I don't know. I just think that he wore out his welcome up there. They wore each other out. They did. They wore each other out, and it's kind of how I felt about Brian Kelly last year. Kind of some comparisons is Kelly last year. It was like there's a piece of me that kept telling me like maybe it's just over between the two. Or look at Andy Reid. Andy Reid's not a bad coach. The Eagles weren't a bad team per se when he left. The message gets old after a while. Sometimes it just doesn't work. Sometimes situations just don't work. Just like on the flip side of that, when you see a coach do like really well with one organization, and then they go and they just flop in another, and then they keep flopping, and they're like, well, what's wrong with this guy? He did so well, here, and here. What the heck's the problem? Well, maybe that specific situation that he was good at or that he had success, maybe that was just a fit. Maybe it just worked. For whatever reason, the right chemistry was there or whatever, but maybe it just worked. And, on the flip, going back to the negative side of that, I just think that it just doesn't work in Chicago with Jay. So, like I said, I don't think he's a bad quarterback. I just think that he needs a change of scenery. And right now, with the current quarterback situation, Hackenberg with the yips, and I think they still have Geno Smith, and then they got I almost called him Bryce Petty. I guess like I said on the other show, they like Petty, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if I'm right on that one. Osweiler to the Browns. How about that? The Browns stockpiling picks. I really don't want to get into this too deep until I get my Browns guy on here and let him pitch a couple rants, because I don't even feel like I'm not a Browns fan. I'm a Browns supporter. I live in the state. I support them. More of a Bengals guy than a Browns guy, but I have my reasons for that, and story for another day. But I support them both for sure. Unless they're playing the Bears, I definitely support them both. And when the Browns and Bengals play each other, I'm a little more of a Bengals lean. So I don't even feel qualified to even be mad at some of the stuff they do, because the long-suffering Browns fans, they are the ones that are qualified. Like if I'm bitching about the Cubs or Notre Dame or something like that, then let me have at it. That's my team. That's the one that I can yell and holler about. But I don't even feel qualified to holler about the Browns. So yeah, Osweiler, that was weird. They just dumped him. They said, you take him and you don't have to give us anything. Just think about that trade. Just to get the contract off the books, they just said, here, Browns, you have him, okay? And here's a second-round pick to take him and his horrible contract, and we don't want anything in return to open up cap space. Now, from everything I read, I thought they had a little more cap space, but it looks like they're going to... that's where all this stuff's coming from with Tony going there, Tony Romo, and then they got Savage down there. And with, like I said in the last show about Kaiser, I think Kaiser's a fit there. If people still see him as a first-round quarterback, I don't. I'm not sure how much success Kaiser's going to have in the NFL. I'm sorry, Notre Dame fans. I'm not seeing it. As a longtime NFL quarterback, I could see him having the same type of career as Blake Bortles has so far. His mechanics aren't great. He's made some changes. I don't know. Here's where I go with that. And before you get angry with me, we're talking about a guy who was stopped by the Navy offense or the Navy defense, and we lost by 1 point. Okay, you say, oh, that happens. Close losses in football, they shorten the clock. Yeah, you're wrong. Okay. Well, he also couldn't lead a game-running drive against Duke when it mattered. Now, I know our defense was the problem last year, but when it comes down to Duke and you need to get a game-winning drive when it matters, like, okay, get me one. I'll ramp it up another notch. Stanford, he needed to score to tie it up, send it to overtime at the end of the game, and he couldn't do it. So I don't know. There's still a piece of me that even is seated in my mind, even before the 2015 season, where he was outplayed in the spring game by Montgomery Van Gorder. Wrap your mind around that one. Go where you watch it if you don't believe me. Van Gorder had better stats. I don't care if it was a spring game or not. When you're that high of a recruit, I don't know. We'll see. He's a big body. We'll see what he can do, but I could really see him having the type of career as Bortles did. And I know early on, it always looked like he threw the ball at the ground. Like he was so tall and powerful that it almost looked like he throws downward. Like if a ball gets away from him, I don't feel like it sails. I feel like he almost spikes it and short hops him. But with the weapons he has there, he would have with the Texans and a nice defense, I could see that working out. Otherwise, they got Tom Savage, which for some reason they like. I like Bill O'Brien as a coach, so I would trust him. There's actually one of our guys that's going to be on the show potentially next week. He's a huge Bill O'Brien fan, and he's a huge Notre Dame fan too. I mean, he's neck and neck with me as far as his Notre Dame love. And so, yeah, he loves O'Brien. I mean, he even said last season, Kelly goes, I want O'Brien. I want the Texans. His words were, I want the Texans to start sucking so that Bill O'Brien can come. And I said, well, I don't know if we want him then. And then we all just thought about it for a minute. And then we thought we were all crazy sports fans. Just deal with it. Looks like Cousins is going to stay despite maybe what he wants. Real quick, though, before I go off Osweiler, I heard a great quote, and this is the last I'll get onto with the Browns, is, this Myles Garrett pick at number 1 is so much a no-brainer. This is not my quote, stolen quote. I don't remember who said it, but it was on Mad Dog Sports this week. Adam Schein said that if the Browns, or is this such a no-brainer, the only team that could screw this up is the Browns. I pray that you don't. Just because I have friends that are Browns fans, but I pray that you do from the standpoint that if you guys don't take Garrett, and then the Niners like either Trubisky or Kaiser, because I've heard that too, that Shanahan likes Kaiser. As a Bears fan, we will gladly take Myles Garrett off your guys' hands. That's fine. If you guys don't need him, hey, we'll take Myles Garrett. That's fine. We have other needs than defensive end, but when you're talking about a guy that strong, that big, that powerful, that's fast, we'll take him. That's fine. Moving on to Cousins. I'm just going to kind of stick to the same list as I went over there 2 episodes ago. Cousins going to stay at the Redskins. I mean, there was nothing else that could be done. Where else were they going to go? Their draft position's not great. Colt McCoy's the backup there. Where else are you going to go? They had to pay him. When somebody tweeted out, I'm going to try to find it while I'm talking to you. Somebody tweeted out, re-signing Cousins is basically the equivalent of, buying a drink paying airport prices for a drink, not because you want to, because you have to. I thought that was pretty good. If I can find it on my Twitter page while I'm thinking about it here, I'll definitely get you the exact quote and the exact guy that said it, because there's some funny quotes out there. If you get on Twitter or anything, I don't want to steal people's stuff, that's for sure. It's the last thing I want to do. But every now and then you get some funny quips, and some of my funny quips that I steal, I want to give them credit, because then that's what makes me listen to them. So I'm kind of looking through Twitter here. Yeah, I'll find it here in a little bit. But yeah, Kirk Cousins, I think it's a good deal. I just think they need to roll with him now. I don't think they should franchise tag him. Don't overpay him. You need to make him your guy. He plays well enough. I know I was knocking him. I brought up the stats that I didn't think that he's a franchise quarterback. But again, if I was in the Redskins situation, then I got to pay him. I mean, the Bears are paying Jay Cutler, and he didn't get as close to the playoffs as Cousins did. He had one good season. The next season he was hurt. We should have kept McCown in there, and we didn't. So, I mean, I don't know. If I had Cousins and I was in that situation, I keep him. That's just where I'm at with that. I just don't think they had a choice. They just did not have a choice. So next one up looks like Garoppolo is going to stay. Oh, there it is. Looks like it's Adam Rank. He said paying $24 million for Kirk Cousins is akin to paying $11 for an airport beer. I mean, you don't want to pay that much, but you have no choice. I think that's perfect. Garoppolo's staying, no surprise there. I didn't see him moving. They want a king's ransom for him. I was listening to somebody, actually Mad Dog again yesterday, and they said that they were wanting like a first this year and a first next, and then maybe got into something about a second next year also. Forget that mess. For a guy that's unproven, no thanks. You can keep him. You can keep him, especially with the tracker. It isn't like that, okay, Brady win these Super Bowls, and now Matt Gutierrez. Yeah, that was a backup. He went out and won a Super Bowl. So, no, it didn't happen. These backups don't have a good track record. Last one from that list I did 2 episodes ago, Colin Kaepernick. Still no word on him, where he's going to go. I personally don't really care. Like I said, this is kind of along the same lines as Tyrod to Minnesota. There's no legs behind it. There's no word of it. There's no nothing. There's just my opinion. I think that in my opinion, that he should go to the Dolphins. I mean, that's not just because knocking him because he wore a Dolphins hat while he's playing for the 49ers. No, it's because he has a similar game to Tannehill down there. And, who's their backup? Matt Moore. Matt Moore, he's the only guy I've ever seen that I thought literally died on the field when he was hit in that playoff game last year. So, I think he could back up down there. And if he got a chance to play, if Tannehill got dinged, then maybe he can show his stuff again. Adam Gase is a nice coach. I don't know where I stand on Adam Gase. There was a piece of me at one time that wanted him as the coach of the Bears, but now that he's down there, I'm like, I don't know. Their offense isn't lighting up the world. Tannehill's playing better. But, Adam Gase made his money and his rep off of a good Peyton Manning. Not the best Peyton Manning. It was tail end of his career, but the last good Peyton Manning is where Gase came from. Let me just tell you that myself or any host on this show could have a Super Bowl contending team with that good of a Peyton Manning. Okay, Adam Gase didn't call the plays. He might have called a couple or gave some suggestions, but Peyton ran that offense. Peyton called his own plays and ran the offense. Yeah, we could all be wonderful offensive coordinators in the world of sunshine, rainbows, and leprechauns if Peyton Manning at that level is our quarterback. So that's just kind of my thoughts on him. And as far as the Bears, what we did this week, I'm nervous. I'm cautiously optimistic. This quarterback was not on my list of the episode the show we did 2 episodes ago. Mike Glennon, new quarterback. I'm all in. If you looked at my Twitter, I'm all in. I want the jersey or the jersey. I am all in on Mike Glennon. That was my choice before free agency started. I moved around my Madden team on PS4, and we're 3-0 right now. Yeah, buddy. So it was the right decision, clearly. I'm kidding, of course, but I'm all in. I like the guy. The only thing I don't like is one of the arguments for Glennon is how bad of a team he had around him. People want us to look at the 5-13 record and some of the stats that he had, and like, oh my gosh, we should have kept Cutler. No, we shouldn't. You had the choice between a quarterback with nice attributes being compared to even Matt Ryan. I'm loving that. Anybody that knows me knows I have so much man love for Matt Ryan. I'm loving that. But you have the choice between this guy, nice upside, decent, we can get him for a decent contract, or you got Jay Cutler. You got Jay Cutler for, 5 games, a couple interceptions, and more disappointment before he's out with a season-ending injury. It was a good decision. It's somebody we can build on, possibly a bridge quarterback. At best, we're a playoff contender. We can groom him. Maybe we draft somebody in the latter rounds. Maybe we get Mahomes. Some people are high on him. I don't want to get on the rant about him because I'm not a believer in Mahomes right now out of Texas Tech. Develop him. Connor Shaw's even coming along. That's my guy, too. I loved Connor Shaw at South Carolina. I'm a big Connor Shaw fan. He's back on a 1-year deal, and my freaking Super Bowl tickets are purchased now. Kidding again. But I did. I love Connor Shaw. He's a really good dude, too. Nice follow on Twitter. Give him a follow if you can. It just seems like a genuinely good guy. You'll find on this show that I really enjoy athletes who live life the right way and stuff. And he's got a wife and kids, and just seems like an overall good dude. And I root for guys like that. And Connor Shaw is one of my dudes. I really like Connor Shaw. So maybe if he can develop into something while Glennon's there. But my only issue with the Glennon signing is the fact that we don't have anything around him. We let Jeffrey walk. Eddie Royal's old. He's played in probably not played in as many games as he's played. And then Kevin White, I don't know what we're going to do with him. He's a mess. So Miller, the tight end, I don't know. We'll see. He's ouchy too. But we need to give him some weapons. Mike Williams is available in the draft. We got to give him something. I would have even went after Terrell Pryor for as little as he wanted. Ended up going to the Redskins, looks like. But, yeah, I don't know. We got to give him some weapons. I know Joho's there. Joho's my guy. Jordan Howard, forever. If you hear me say Joho, that's who I'm talking about. Love Joho. I like our line. I think the line's going to be able to protect him. We just got to give him some weapons. Eddie Royal doesn't look that great. We got the Beaverman kid out of where's he? Western Michigan. He's in the slot. But he needs some weapons. Otherwise, this is going to turn into the same thing, and then people are going to blame him and the front office and Gase and old woman McCaskey, the cat lady, as we like to call her. I can just imagine Miss McCaskey. I guarantee you that woman's got like 75 cats. Look at her sometimes. She is the old cat lady that lives at the end of the road that every kid's afraid of her house. Tell me she's not. I love her and all. Being a Bears fan, I think she's made some boneheaded decisions, and I don't think she needs to be necessarily running things. I hope Gase has more control than I think, but yeah, that's the cat lady. So we'll see. We'll see how things go there. But we need to get some weapons around him. I know Noah Brown's coming out of Ohio State, and you got Mike Williams coming out of Clemson. I don't know if we draft one. I seen we got Marcus Whedon from the Steelers. Some Steelers fans are telling me, and some Steelers fans are also telling me that he was overshadowed by Antonio Brown. So we'll see. It'll be a compliment receiver. If we can get Kevin White back, it'll be like getting a first-round draft pick back. Or 2 first-round draft picks this year. But that dude hadn't played either. He didn't play at all his whole first season. His second season, he played very minimal. So we'll see. Okay, that almost does it for the show this week. One last thing, spend a little time on this. ACC title game tonight. Let's go Irish. Let's go Irish. We are indeed. Let's go, boys. Let's get this thing going. Bonzie Colson is playing like a man. All 6'5", but 7'2" wingspan or whatever it is. He's playing great. Matty Ice, Matt Farrell's playing out of his mind. Matt Ryan even came to play last night. That was a fun win. Anytime we can beat Florida State. Florida State's about in the same doghouse as Miami is for me. I can't stand Miami. You guys know that, and Florida State kind of falls in that same category. We laid it on them last night. Things started fading down the stretch, as it does. You know how it is, Notre Dame fans. Things fade down the stretch. I'm not a big fan of this matchup tonight. Everything on paper says it should favor Duke, but we know Bray. Bray's a great coach, man. Gray, yeah, easy for me to say. Him too. Bray's a good coach. Last night we had 18 from Bonzie, 18 from Vistoria, Matt Farrell 15. Sexy Rex Pfluger off the bench with 8. Beecham only had 6. I hope, looking at that number, actually I didn't know he only had 6. 1 3-pointer. I hope that means he is going to go off tonight because we're going to need him. We're going to need him big time. We ran 9. Played 9 yesterday. We had Torres, Matt Ryan, and Gebbin and Gibbs off the bench. We're going to need something from Gibbs too. Gibbs did not play. He played all right. He had 2 assists in 9 minutes. Only attempted 1 shot. Gebbin was in there, didn't really get any blocks or anything. Kind of does what Gebbin does against more elite talent. 77-73, and the game wasn't that close. We just, we couldn't hit our foul shots down the stretch, maybe a little fatigue setting in, but no excuse. This is the ACC title game tonight in Brooklyn, under the lights, 9 o'clock. There's a reason ESPN sticks the ACC title game last. There's no bias in that statement. You might think I'm very biased because I am of the ACC, but there's a reason they're putting us in prime time. So, as hot as we were from 3 in the first half, good night. We went into halftime up by 16 against one of the most athletic teams in the country that can look like the best team in the country when they're not being the most bipolar team in the country. So, I'm excited. Hopefully Matty Ice keeps things rolling. Yes, Matt Farrell is Matty Ice to me as well. That kid, I would make out with his mother, and I mean every word of it, for giving birth to him. That is my guy. Love me some Matt Farrell. Played well last night. We're going to have to defend well. We have to defend real well because we got a beast of a team coming in. Duke's on a roll. Knocking off North Carolina last night by 10, 93-83. In fact, when I look at the matchup, though, I think Duke's the better matchup physically. Like Louisville is a terrible matchup for us. Long, size, can hit their shots from outside, and that's how North Carolina is. The thing that Florida State, they're long, lean, and athletic, but guess what? They're a terrible mid-range jump shooting team. Duke was down big early and then came back, down by, cut the lead to 7 at half, and then, UNC, they just couldn't match it. And Duke was on a run, and they just could not score. Jason Tatum's playing out of his mind. He had 24 last night, and then Luke Kennard, Kennard's kind of their stud, and then had Allen off the tripper off the bench with 18. You got that kind of production. We're not getting that off the bench. We rely on our starters. We're lucky we run 9 deep. We run 9 deep just so our guys can catch their breath. Technically, you only run about 7 deep. I take that back. Yeah, no, about 7 deep because you got Torres and Gibbs off the bench. They combine for some minutes to give guys spells. But you're not taking Matt Farrell off the floor for very long. You're not taking Vesturia off the floor for very long. You're not taking Bonzi off the floor for hardly any length of time. Beacham's the same way. Beacham just needs to get more interested. Beacham's got to be interested. That kid, one minute you're like, man, that is the next Steph Curry. When he gets to the league, he's going to be something else. And I mean Steph Curry not by he can create his own shot, because that's going to be his biggest problem is he can't create his own shot. He's a spot up guy, but he'll get on a heater with threes, and it's like, can he miss? That dude, he's something else. But then there's some nights he doesn't even look like he wants to be there. So he better want to be there tonight. Tonight, we win tonight. That's two ACC titles in 3 years, and we were maybe considered to be a doormat when we came over to the ACC. Bray has these boys rolling. Tongue in cheek here, 100%. But if Bray, Kelly struggles this year, how much money does it take for Bray to just coach both teams? Bray's done an incredible job. Great job. Of course, Duke's a beast. I'm hoping for a great game tonight. I don't know. My head says Duke, my heart says Notre Dame, of course. It just depends. Hopefully it looks like it did 2 years ago when we came out and straight murked North Carolina. That game wasn't close bell to bell, and it was an ACC title game. Duke has a lot of, a couple good bench guys. They have Giles coming off the bench as well, provided 6 last night. And then Frank Jackson also, 15. You got guys, 3 of your 5 starters are, over 14 points. That's nice. But, we did kind of the same thing last night. Vesturia played a nice game as well. He quietly has nice games sometimes. Looks like he went for 18. Let me look at it here. Yeah, he went for 18. Matt Ryan gave us 11 off the bench. And that guy, he's a sniper too. I mean, there is one reason that you are playing Matt Ryan, and it is for him to stand there and score. And then he actually got us a layup last night. That was nice to see. Kind of created his own layup. You get a guy closing out real hard on a guy that's out there for a specialty only, like Matt Ryan is. You'll get guys just charging out there, like they're a linebacker ready to hit you over the middle, and then all of a sudden you don't even have to make that good of a move. I mean, I could probably make a good enough move if you're charging at me, no matter how athletic you are, to get in and get a layup. I mean, he did. He spotted up, and then the dude come charging out at him, dribble around, got him an easy layup. So hopefully we can run into that tonight, trick him a little bit. Next week, we will be doing our March Madness preview with Ricky. I promise that interview is happening. A lot of people are excited about that. I think it's a nice little feather in this show's cap to have an NCAA official on. And really, if I hadn't already predicted it, I wouldn't even let it bother me. If I say I'm going to do something a certain week, I like to do it. But I think it's nice to actually get him when I'm getting him, as I'm getting him next Friday, and that's a day after the first day of March Madness. Yes, I'm off both days. They are the 2 most unproductive days, 2 of the 3 most unproductive days in America, and I'm taking full advantage. So I will be witnessing all the games. I'm super excited about that. And one of the Bleacher Report's bracketology I looked at had us in a region, had Notre Dame in a region with East Tennessee, I think, first. Let me bring this up before we finish the show today, because I'm telling you, I have a bold prediction if this happens. Stand by here. Because it had us in Gonzaga's part of the bracket. I love the matchup if we had to play Gonzaga. I don't have any qualms with that at all. And then East Tennessee State, and I think Oregon was the 2 seed in there. Let me find it here. little bracketology knowledge to drop on you to finish off the week. Here we go. Say, Greg, why don't you have these notes ready to go? Well, because I didn't even know if I was doing a show today. Get over it. You're listening. You love it. So here we go. We got East Tennessee State in the first round. Winner of Butler, Vermont, second round. And then above us would be Gonzaga would probably win their 1-16 matchup. They play the winner of VCU and Oklahoma State. Who's to say that Gonzaga, their weak conference, they don't get knocked off then? I like us against VCU. I like us against Gonzaga. I like us against Oklahoma State. That puts us in our third straight Elite Eight. And the other half of this bracket looks like Minnesota playing a play-in winner. Louisville, Creighton, Middle Tennessee, Oregon, Texas Southern. Tell me when you hear somebody that scares you. It doesn't. It doesn't scare me a bit. And if that happens, I like it. I think this is Bray. If that happens, this is Bray's Final Four team. And you can about bet this Bleacher Report one has us at 4 out of 4 seed. We win tonight, we will be the 3 seed. Flip-flop us in Louisville. We play Florida Gulf Coast in the first round with a second round matchup of Minnesota and the play-in winner. So I like that matchup. I'm excited about that. So that's the show for this week. I hope everybody enjoyed it. A little off the cuff. Like I said, I had like half of the notes that I usually have. I wasn't even going to do a show this week after losing the interview and having to push it back one more time. I do promise you, show next week, 10:30 in the morning ish. I'm not on anybody's network schedule. We'll be doing the show from Ricky's house, actually, and doing the interview with Ricky Smith. We'll do a little March Madness. He is my New York guy. He is a huge Knick fan, Yankee fan, and Giant fan. We'll tackle the James Dolan stuff with Charles Oakley finally that I wanted to touch on and just get his insight. We're living here in Central Ohio and a lot of Midwest listeners probably. Get a feel for kind of somebody's fan take of that because, despite where you live, ESPN doesn't change. You live in Alaska, you live in Oklahoma, you live in Nebraska, you live in Ohio, Florida. Your ESPN, I've been to St. Croix, they have ESPN down there. It doesn't change. We're all getting the same news. So, somebody's a little, from Brooklyn and a Knick fan and, give us his take on that kind of stuff. Tonight, 346 South High Street at Dempsey's Food and Spirits. They are having a get-together for the ACC championship game. I'm going to try to get this thing posted as quickly as possible so you have something to listen to, a little hour-long show. I'm going to try to get out there to Dempsey's tonight. I got a little editing to do after this, which doesn't take too long, and see what the wife is doing here and try to get out there. That's where the Notre Dame Fan Club of Columbus meets. All football games, and Mark Hassam just chucked together. Check his Facebook page. If you live in the Columbus area, get in touch with Mark Hassam and have him invite you to the Facebook page of the Notre Dame Fan Club of Columbus, and let's get out there and support the Irish. The owner, Mr. Dempsey, he does a good job of keeping it a Notre Dame only bar. So if you're a Notre Dame fan, come out. It's just like being in South Bend. It's freaking wonderful. I remember when Notre Dame played Ohio State in the Fiesta Bowl a couple years back. It was fantastic to be able to, walk down the streets of Columbus, Ohio, but see all Notre Dame jerseys flocking to one spot. I just had like the feels, man. I was like, man, we are in South Bend, and we don't even have to talk about how that game ended. That's fine. We can stop there. But it's awesome. You're a Notre Dame fan, or you support the Irish for even one night because it is Duke, and there's a lot of Duke haters out there. So Duke haters alike, come out, support a great local business. Hopefully everybody got a chance to listen to Jason Hendricks' podcast last week of the Dose Leprechauns. He had a nice interview with Joey Getherall on there. Very cool. One of my personal favorite Notre Dame players of all time. I'm not sure why. Probably because I was like the same height as him, and when I played in school, and I was like, oh man, that one day could be me. I could be Joey Getherall. They have some good guests on their show. I was looking back at some of their old episodes, and man, they even had like the Notre Dame Leprechaun on there one week, and yeah, man, they have some cool stuff on there. So give Jason a listen. Support the West Coast Notre Dame fans, West Coast podcast. Even if you're not a Notre Dame fan, I think you'd really enjoy his show. And just people like me that are just trying to spread some good shows out there and some alternative programming for you than just the same old crap every week. So All right, guys, that's the show for this week. Thanks for listening. I will have this thing out ASAP, and we will see you next Friday morning. Hopefully, it'll be Facebook Live along with an episode with interview with Ricky Smith. In 2 weeks, we do have a show with Jerry Kaler and Dusty Elk 1 week before opening day. We will be previewing the baseball season, heavy emphasis on the Reds, Indians, Yankees, and of course the Cubs. If you enjoy the show and not on Facebook, you're not on YouTube or whatever, and also the show's also available on SoundCloud. Tell a friend, get some more likes going on the pages, get some more views, and keep this thing going. I just do this for free, just do this for fun. So tell some people about it, help keep it going. The more listeners, the more definitely keeps me motivated to keep you guys entertained, anybody that likes the show. So again, this is the Domer Nurse Podcast. I'm your host, Greg Schaefer. We are the official podcast of the Notre Dame Fan Club of Columbus. Have a good week.